The Nevada desert stretched endlessly under the merciless summer sun, its cracked earth telling stories of drought and desolation. Dr. Sarah Chen wiped sweat from her brow as she made her way through the abandoned quantum research complex, her Geiger counter clicking softly in the eerie silence. 3 months after the mysterious explosion that had shuttered the facility, she was here officially to conduct a radiation assessment. Unofficially, she was searching for answers. The explosion had coincided with unexplained atmospheric phenomena and equipment failures across the southwestern United States. The government's explanation of a failed particle accelerator experiment hadn't satisfied her scientific curiosity, especially given how quickly they'd classified all related documents. The complex's main building loomed before her, its modernist architecture now bearing scars of the incident. As she approached the entrance, her Geiger counter's steady clicking suddenly ceased. Sarah frowned, tapping the device. It wasn't just silent. It was dead, along with her phone and tablet. Complete electronic failure. That's when she heard it, a sound unlike anything she'd ever encountered. A low, melodic humming that seemed to resonate within her bones. It wasn't coming from speakers or machinery. If anything, it reminded her of whale song, but impossibly deep and somehow alien. Sarah's scientific training warred with her instincts. The rational part of her mind said to retreat, report the anomaly, and wait for a properly equipped team. But something else, something deeper, pulled her forward. The humming grew stronger as she ventured deeper into the building's shadows, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The sound led her to the central research chamber, where the particle accelerator had once stood. Now there was only a massive crater in the floor, edges smooth as glass. The humming emanated from below, along with a soft, pulsing light that shouldn't have been possible given the facility's complete power failure. Sarah carefully made her way down the crater's slope, her boots crunching on crystallized sand. The light grew stronger, taking on an opalescent quality that made her think of the aurora borealis. As she rounded a fallen support beam, she finally saw its source, and her world changed forever. A figure knelt in the crater's center, surrounded by geometric patterns etched into the glass-like surface. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its body was covered in what appeared to be liquid mercury, flowing and shifting with each breath. Where a human would have hair, delicate tendrils of light swayed as if underwater. The being's hands, each with 3 long, graceful fingers, traced patterns in the air as it hummed. Most striking were its eyes when it turned to look at her. They were massive, taking up nearly half its face, with no pupils or irises, just swirling galaxies of silver and blue. Those eyes fixed on Sarah, and suddenly the humming stopped. Sarah's scientific mind raced to categorize what she was seeing, even as her hands trembled. The being's proportions were wrong for a human in a suit. Its movements were too fluid, its luminescence too organic. This was either the most elaborate hoax in history or... "Hello," she managed to say, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm Sarah. I'm a scientist. I won't hurt you." The being tilted its head, tendrils of light swaying. Then it raised one hand, palm outward. Sarah felt a gentle pressure in her mind, like the moment before a summer storm breaks. Images began flooding her consciousness. Not just pictures, but emotions, sensations, memories that weren't her own. She saw a civilization of beings like this one, living in cities that merged seamlessly with their environment. She felt their deep connection to science and art, their drive to explore and understand the universe. She experienced their discovery of Earth, their excitement at finding another intelligent species, their careful plans for first contact. Then came the tragedy. Their ship, designed for peaceful exploration, had been caught in the crossfire of a classified weapons test. The explosion that had destroyed the facility hadn't been caused by a particle accelerator. It had been their ship's desperate attempt at an emergency landing. Most of the crew had died instantly. This survivor, whose name translated to something like Starlight Dancer, had been trying for months to repair their quantum communications array. The connection broke, leaving Sarah gasping. Tears streamed down her face, whether from the intensity of the experience or the tragedy she'd witnessed. She wasn't sure, but she knew with absolute certainty that everything she'd just seen was real. "You've been alone down here all this time," she said softly, trying to call for help. Starlight Dancer, Sarah couldn't think of them by any other name now, nodded slowly. They gestured to the patterns on the ground, then to the damaged equipment scattered around the crater. Sarah understood through lingering traces of their connection. The alien needed specific materials to repair their communications device, materials they couldn't access while trapped here, hiding from the very people who had shot them down. Sarah straightened her shoulders, decision made. "I'll help you," she said firmly. "But we need to get you somewhere safe first. There are still regular patrols through this area, and I don't think they're all looking for radiation readings." The alien's eyes swirled faster, and Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. But there was something else too. Hesitation, fear. More images filled her mind. Other survivors, scattered across the globe during the chaos of the crash. Starlight Dancer wasn't just trying to call for rescue. They were trying to find their crewmates. "We'll find them," Sarah promised, surprising herself with her conviction. "But first, we need to get you out of here. I have a research station about 20 miles from here. It's private property, off the grid. We can start there." As they carefully made their way out of the crater, Sarah's mind raced with plans. She'd need supplies, secure communications, trusted contacts. This would change everything. Humanity's understanding of their place in the universe, their technological capabilities, their future as a species. But looking at Starlight Dancer, seeing their grace even in tragedy, feeling their relief at finally having an ally, Sarah knew the bigger change would be more personal. Humanity had shot first and asked questions later, had met peaceful contact with violence. Yet here was a chance for redemption, for one human at least to prove that Earth could do better. The desert sun was setting as they emerged from the facility, painting the sky in colors that reminded Sarah of Starlight Dancer's eyes. She had come looking for scientific answers, but had found something far more valuable. A chance to make first contact right this time, to help forge a bridge between worlds. And somewhere out there, other survivors were waiting, hoping for rescue. Sarah squared her shoulders. She had work to do. Sarah's research station was little more than a converted ranch house, but its isolation made it perfect for hiding an alien refugee. As she pulled her dusty truck up the gravel drive, the setting sun cast long shadows across the desert scrubland. Starlight Dancer sat motionless in the passenger seat, their luminescent form dimmed to avoid detection. The station's security system chirped as Sarah disabled it, her mind still reeling from the day's events. She'd smuggled her alien companion out of the facility by hiding them under a thermal blanket in her truck bed, heart pounding every time they passed a military checkpoint. Now, as she ushered Starlight Dancer inside, the magnitude of what she'd undertaken began to sink in. "It's not much," she said, gesturing to the sparse living space. "But it's secure. I've modified the walls with a Faraday cage to protect my more sensitive equipment. Should help mask any energy signatures you might emit." The alien moved through the space with fluid grace, their mercury-like skin reflecting the dim interior lights. They paused at Sarah's bank of computers, raising a three-fingered hand. Immediately, the screens flickered to life, displaying streams of data Sarah had never seen before. A gentle pressure touched her mind. Their now familiar way of communicating. Images formed. Military personnel combing the crash site, collecting fragments of advanced technology, running tests. More disturbing were the images of men in black suits reviewing footage of other crash sites across the globe. They knew about the survivors. "They're hunting your people," Sarah whispered, horror dawning. "But why? Your technology alone could advance our species by centuries." The answer came in a flood of memories. Humanity's violent history, viewed through alien eyes. Wars, environmental destruction, weapons of unimaginable power. The peaceful exploration mission had discovered something troubling. Earth's governments wouldn't risk their technological advantages being shared equally among all nations. Better to capture and control alien technology than allow it to change the global balance of power. Sarah sank into her chair, processing the implications. "We need proof," she said finally. "Something to show the public what's really happening. They can't hide the truth if everyone knows." Starlight Dancer's response was immediate and alarming. More images, previous alien civilizations that had tried to force rapid technological advancement on developing worlds. The results were always catastrophic: civil wars, ecological collapse, extinction. Change had to come gradually, with understanding and wisdom walking hand in hand with technological progress. A soft beeping interrupted their exchange. One of Sarah's monitoring programs had detected unusual activity, military channels lighting up with encrypted communications. She quickly patched into the feeds, her years of signals intelligence experience paying off. "They're expanding the search," she muttered, decoding fragments. "Someone must have spotted us leaving the facility. We need to." She trailed off as one decoded message caught her eye. Wait. This mentioned something called Project Starburst in Montana, another research facility. Starlight Dancer moved closer, their presence causing the computers to enhance the decryption process automatically. The screens filled with classified documents, revealing a hidden facility deep in the Montana wilderness. There, according to the files, scientists were studying technology salvaged from the crash sites, including pieces of the quantum communications array. "That's what you need to contact the others," Sarah realized. "But it's probably the most heavily guarded location in the country right now." The aliens' response surprised her. Instead of fear or desperation, they projected determination and trust. More images filled Sarah's mind. Humans who had helped other survivors, a growing network of scientists, activists, and ordinary people who had chosen to protect rather than exploit their alien visitors. "You're not alone," Sarah breathed. "There are others like me, aren't there? People who know the truth." Starlight Dancer confirmed her suspicion, showing her glimpses of safe houses across the country, hidden communication channels, and a sophisticated underground railroad for extraterrestrial refugees. But they needed someone with Sarah's specific skills, her scientific knowledge, her security clearance, her access to classified channels. Sarah turned back to her computers, fingers flying over the keyboards. "I have contacts in the scientific community, people I trust. And these military channels. I can use them to track patrol patterns, shift changes." She paused, looking at her alien companion. "Getting into that facility won't be easy. But if we succeed, we could save your people and expose the truth." The alien's eyes swirled with complex patterns that Sarah was learning to recognize as hope. But there was something else in their projected thoughts, a warning. The truth wouldn't just expose the government's actions. It would force humanity to confront its own nature, its tendency to react with fear and violence to things it didn't understand. "Maybe that's exactly what we need," Sarah said firmly. "A mirror to show us who we really are, and who we could become." As night fell over the desert, Sarah began reaching out to trusted contacts, while Starlight Dancer interfaced with her systems, enhancing them beyond their original capabilities. Together, they worked to piece together the larger puzzle, the locations of other survivors, the extent of the government's involvement, the identities of potential allies. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were in a race against time. Every hour they delayed was another hour the government had to track down and capture the remaining aliens. And somewhere in Montana, the key to saving them was locked away in a heavily guarded facility. As she watched Starlight Dancer work, their liquid mercury form flowing with purpose and determination, Sarah made a silent vow. She would prove that humanity was capable of more than fear and violence. They would find a way to protect these peaceful visitors, to learn from them rather than exploit them. The truth would come out, one way or another. And when it did, humanity would have to choose what kind of species they truly wanted to be. The journey to Montana took 3 weeks of careful preparation. Sarah's research station became a hub of clandestine activity, her computers continuously monitoring military communications, while Starlight Dancer reached out to their hidden network. Every day brought new revelations and new allies. Dr. Marcus Way arrived first, a quantum physicist who had helped shelter another survivor in Seattle. He brought with him detailed schematics of the Montana facility, downloaded from secured servers using alien encryption techniques. Claire Rodriguez, an environmental activist with military contacts, followed 2 days later. One by one, a team of unlikely heroes assembled. "The facility's security is unlike anything I've seen," Marcus explained, gesturing to the holographic display Starlight Dancer had created from his data. 3 layers of electronic countermeasures, biometric scanners, and armed patrols. But that's not our biggest problem. Sarah leaned closer to the shimming blue projection. "The quantum dampening field." "Exactly." Marcus ran a hand through his graying hair. "They've reverse-engineered enough alien tech to create a field that disrupts any quantum communication. That's why the survivors can't contact each other directly, or their homeworld." Starlight Dancer moved through the hologram, their mercury-like form casting strange shadows. Through their mental link, Sarah felt their growing concern. The dampening field wasn't just blocking communications, it was causing physical pain to any of their species who got too close. The government had turned it into a defense weapon. Claire spoke up from her position by the window, where she'd been watching for patrols. "My contact inside says they're bringing in something big next week. Some kind of testing equipment. If we're going to move, it needs to be before that arrives." Sarah felt Starlight Dancer's immediate reaction. A surge of urgency tinged with fear. More images filled her mind. The testing equipment was designed to forcibly extract information from captured aliens. They'd used similar devices on the survivors they'd already caught. "We're not waiting," Sarah declared, her voice hard. "How many other survivors have your people contacted?" The answer came in a series of mental flashes. 5 confirmed survivors scattered across North America. Each had found human allies, created safe houses. But they were growing weaker, their natural ability to draw energy from quantum fields disrupted by the government's dampening technology. Marcus pulled up another hologram, this one showing a network of safe houses and underground routes. "We've got support cells in every major city now. People who figured out the truth, who want to help. But moving 5 weakened aliens across the country to Montana." 7, Claire corrected. "My contact says they've detected 2 more crash survivors, but couldn't reach them before the military did. They're being held in the Montana facility." Sarah felt Starlight Dancer's pain at this news. Not just emotional, but physical. These weren't just crew members, they were family. Their species formed deep telepathic bonds, and having those bonds forcibly severed was like losing a limb. "Then we break them out too," Sarah said firmly. "But first, we need to coordinate with the other survivors. Get them moving toward Montana using different routes. By the time we breach the facility, they need to be close enough to evacuate quickly once we take down the dampening field." The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. Sarah's computers, enhanced by Starlight Dancer's technology, became the command center for their operation. Coded messages flew back and forth across secure channels. Safe house operators began moving their alien charges under cover of darkness. Claire's military contacts provided patrol schedules and shift changes. Marcus worked with Starlight Dancer to develop countermeasures for the facility's security systems. And Sarah watched her alien friend growing weaker as the dampening field's effects spread. "We're getting reports of new military checkpoints," Claire announced one evening, bursting into the command center. "They're expanding the dampening field's range, testing its effectiveness as a weapon." Sarah looked at Starlight Dancer, who was projecting a holographic map showing the other survivors' positions. Their light had dimmed noticeably, their movements becoming less fluid. Time was running out. "How close are the others?" she asked. The map zoomed in, showing 4 points of light converging on Montana from different directions. The fifth survivor, still in Mexico, was too weak to travel, but they had contributed crucial information about the facility's vulnerabilities. "We'll have everyone in position in 3 days," Marcus said, studying the data. "But the survivors will be at their weakest point. The closer they get to the facility, the more the dampening field affects them." Sarah finished. She turned to Starlight Dancer. "Can you hold on that long?" The alien's response was immediate, a wave of determination so strong it made her eyes water. They would endure anything to save their captured family members. But there was something else in their thoughts. Concern for the humans who were risking everything to help them. "Don't worry about us," Sarah said softly. "Humanity needs this, needs to prove we can be better than our fears." As the sun set over the Montana mountains, visible now from their forward base, Sarah watched her unlikely team making final preparations. Scientists, activists, military deserters, ordinary citizens who had chosen to help rather than hide. This, she realized, was humanity at its best, coming together to protect those in need, to fight injustice, to choose compassion over fear. In 3 days, they would attempt the impossible. But looking at Starlight Dancer, seeing their unwavering courage even as the dampening field weakened them, Sarah knew failure wasn't an option. They would save the survivors, expose the truth, and show the world that humanity was ready for a larger universe. The real question was, would the world be ready for the truth? Dawn broke over the Montana facility, its security fences gleaming with morning frost. From their observation point in the surrounding forest, Sarah watched guard patrols through high-powered binoculars. Beside her, Starlight Dancer's luminescence had dimmed to barely a flicker, the dampening field taking its toll. "Latest intel from inside," Claire whispered, joining them at the ridge. "They're moving the captured survivors to the testing chamber at 900. Security will be focused on the transfer. That's our window." Sarah nodded, checking her tablet one last time. The other 4 survivors were in position, hidden by their human allies in vehicles around the facility's perimeter. Each was weakened but ready. Everything hinged on the next few hours. Marcus' status on the power systems. Sarah spoke into her encrypted comm. "Ready," his voice crackled back. "When you give the signal, we'll trigger cascading failures in their backup generators. They'll have to switch to emergency power, which means the dampening field drops for 30 seconds during the switchover." Sarah finished. "That's our only chance." Through their mental link, Starlight Dancer shared images of the facility's layout, memorized from Marcus's schematics. The testing chamber was 3 levels underground, accessible only by secure elevators and an emergency stairwell. Getting in would be hard. Getting out with 2 weakened survivors would be nearly impossible. "Transport teams, check in," Sarah commanded. One by one, voices responded, confirming their positions. Each team had a modified vehicle ready to receive and protect a survivor. The vehicle's interiors were shielded against the dampening field's effects, another innovation born from the collaboration between human and alien technology. "Incoming," Claire hissed suddenly, dropping flat. A military helicopter swept over their position, its searchlight cutting through the morning mist. Sarah held her breath, but their camouflage held. The aircraft moved on, continuing its patrol pattern. "They're getting nervous," Claire observed. "My contact says they've detected unusual energy signatures around the perimeter. They know something's coming." Sarah felt Starlight Dancer's response, not fear, but a grim determination. Through their link, she saw flashes of the aliens' homeworld, of the peaceful civilization they'd left behind. This wasn't just about rescue anymore. It was about preventing humans from weaponizing their technology, from spreading violence to the stars. 9 minutes to prisoner transfer, Marcus reported. "Primary team, you need to move now." Sarah checked her gear one last time. The modified tablet, the security passes Claire's contact had provided, the small device Marcus had built to temporarily mask their electronic signatures. Most importantly, she checked the quantum resonator strapped to her wrist, designed to amplify Starlight Dancer's weakening energy. Remember, she told her alien friend, once we're inside, we'll only have sporadic communication. The dampening field. Starlight Dancer interrupted with a surge of emotion. Trust, gratitude, determination. They knew the risks. They all did. The descent to the facility's outer fence was tense but uneventful. Sarah's heart pounded as they approached the first security checkpoint, but Claire's forged credentials held up. They were inside the perimeter. The dampening field's effect was immediate. Starlight Dancer's form seemed to flicker and shift, their movements becoming jerky. The resonator helped, but Sarah could feel their pain through their weakening mental link. 5 minutes to transfer, Marcus's voice whispered in her ear. Loading dock is clear. Go now. They moved quickly through the facility's shadow, using blind spots in the security camera coverage that Claire's contact had identified. The loading dock's service entrance required both a keycard and biometric scan, but Marcus's device fooled the systems just long enough. Inside, the facility hummed with power, most of it flowing to the massive dampening field generators. Sarah felt Starlight Dancer's reaction to being this close to the source of their pain, but they pressed on. 3 minutes, Marcus updated. Security teams are converging on the prisoner transfer route. Northwest stairwell is your best option. They found the stairwell and began their descent, each step taking them deeper into the heart of the facility. The air grew colder, the lighting more sterile. Starlight Dancer's glow was barely visible now, even with the resonator's help. Transfer beginning, Marcus reported tensely. 1 minute to power surge. They'd reached the testing chamber level just as alarms began blaring. Through the reinforced windows, Sarah saw guards escorting 2 figures down the corridor. Aliens like Starlight Dancer, but their light almost completely extinguished. 30 seconds. Marcus counted down. Get ready. Sarah's hand hovered over the detonator that would trigger their cascade of system failures. Starlight Dancer pressed against the wall, gathering what little strength they had left. 15 seconds. Guards were shouting now, responding to the alarms. The prisoner transfer had halted, the captured aliens slumping in their restraints. Now, Sarah hit the detonator. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered, died, and came back dimmer. Emergency klaxons wailed. And in that moment of switchover, as the dampening field wavered, Starlight Dancer exploded into brilliant light. Their mental link roared back to full strength, carrying with it a wave of power that shattered the reinforced windows and sent guards sprawling. The rescue had begun, but as security forces began converging on their position, Sarah knew the hardest part was still to come. They had to get out, and they had to make sure humanity couldn't use this technology to harm anyone ever again. The storm they'd been preparing for had finally broken. Now they just had to survive it. The testing chamber erupted into chaos. In the 30 seconds of reduced dampening field strength, Starlight Dancer's power flared like a newborn star, their light filling the sterile corridors with otherworldly radiance. The 2 captured aliens responded instantly, their own luminescence strengthening as their bonds shattered. Security teams converging on your position. Marcus's voice crackled through the comm. You've got 2 minutes before the dampening field reaches full power again. Sarah rushed forward, supporting one of the weakened aliens while Starlight Dancer helped the other. Through their restored mental link, she felt their mingled relief and terror. The rescued aliens were barely alive, their essence nearly drained by weeks of experimentation. Main elevator shaft is sealed, Claire reported urgently. They're locking down the facility. The data servers, one of the rescued aliens projected weakly into Sarah's mind. They have our ship's core memory, the quantum drive specifications. Sarah understood instantly. If the government retained access to that level of technology, they wouldn't stop hunting the survivors. Worse, they'd eventually develop weapons that could threaten other peaceful civilizations. Marcus, she commanded, where are the servers? 1 level down. But Sarah, you don't have time. Plot me a route. Now. Starlight Dancer's response was immediate. They would go with her. The other aliens could make it to the surface with Claire's help, using the resonators to maintain their strength. Through their connection, Sarah felt their unified purpose. This wasn't just about escape anymore. Transport teams, begin approach, Sarah ordered as Claire led the rescued aliens toward their backup exit route. Be ready for immediate evacuation. She and Starlight Dancer raced down emergency stairs to the server level, their footsteps echoing in the chaos of blaring alarms and shouting guards. The facility's emergency lighting cast everything in a bloody red glow. The server room's security door was military-grade steel, but Starlight Dancer had spent months learning Earth's technology. Their touch sent cascading failures through the electronic lock, and the door swung open. Banks of servers filled the climate-controlled room, holding not just the aliens' stolen technology specifications, but also records of everything the government had done to the survivors. Sarah started planting the quantum charges Marcus had designed while Starlight Dancer interfaced directly with the systems. Through their link, Sarah saw what they were doing. Not just erasing data, but replacing it with something else. Images of their homeworld, their peaceful culture, their hopes for humanity. The truth, freely given rather than stolen. 30 seconds until full dampening field restoration, Marcus warned. You need to move. Sarah planted the last charge just as heavy boots thundered down the corridor outside. Armed guards were approaching, and the dampening field was strengthening. Starlight Dancer's light began to flicker. It's done, Sarah said, reaching for the detonator. Let's. The door burst open. Guards filled the doorway, weapons raised. Sarah felt Starlight Dancer's panic, not for themselves but for her. Step away from the servers, the lead guard ordered. This is your only warning. Sarah looked at her alien friend, seeing the same determination she felt reflected in their swirling eyes. Through their fading link, they shared one last thought. Some things were worth dying for. She raised the detonator. Humanity deserves the truth. The quantum charges detonated, but not with the destruction they'd expected. Instead, Starlight Dancer had modified them, turning their energy into a pure burst of quantum information. Every computer in the facility activated simultaneously, screens filling with images of alien worlds, peaceful first contacts, the possibility of a better future. The dampening field crashed completely as its control systems were overwhelmed. From above came the sound of multiple sonic booms. The other survivors, their strength restored, calling their hidden ship fragments back together. The guards stood frozen, weapons lowered, as the truth played out on every screen. Through the facility's windows, they could see the ship reassembling itself in the morning sky, its organic curves a stark contrast to the angular human architecture. Make your choice, Sarah told them quietly. Keep fighting to preserve old fears, or help us build something new. One by one, the guards lowered their weapons. Outside, more sonic booms announced the arrival of other ships, called by the survivors' restored quantum network. But they weren't coming as conquerors. Through her link with Starlight Dancer, Sarah felt their intention. They were coming to offer humanity a choice. In the days that followed, the truth spread faster than any government could contain it. The survivors' story, their peaceful intentions, and humanity's choice between fear and progress became the defining question of a generation. Sarah stood with Starlight Dancer on her research station's roof a week later, watching the sunset paint the desert in colors that matched their alien friend's ethereal glow. The ship hung in orbit above, visible as a bright star in the darkening sky. "Will you return home?" she asked, though she already knew the answer through their strengthened link. Starlight Dancer's response filled her mind with images of possibility. Humans and aliens working together, learning from each other, growing beyond their fears. They would stay, along with others of their kind, to help humanity take its first steps into a larger universe. A lot of people are still afraid, Sarah mused. It won't be easy. The aliens' answer was simple but profound. The best things never were. But humans had proven themselves capable of choosing hope over fear, compassion over violence. It was a start. As night fell over the desert, more lights appeared in the sky. Ships carrying ambassadors, scientists, and dreamers from across the galaxy. Humanity's long isolation was ending, not with an invasion or a war, but with an outstretched hand and an offer of friendship. They had all come so far from that first moment in a ruined facility, from an alien's tears and a human's choice to help. The truth had changed everything, just as Starlight Dancer had known it would. And somewhere in the vast night sky, other civilizations were watching, waiting to see what humanity would become. Sarah smiled, knowing they were ready to show them.